Welcome to Balancing the Ledger, where tech and finance intersect. I'm Robert Hackett.
And I'm Jen Viechner.
And today we're here with Taavet Hinrikus, co-founder and chairman of TransferWise, one of the hot fintech companies out there right now. Now, TransferWise, you guys do cross-border payments, but what do you do differently than the incumbents?
So we really started TransferWise because myself and my co-founder, Christo, we were sending money between Estonia and UK, and we realized that whenever we go to a bank, we get a horrible service. It's slow, expensive, and really inconvenient to use. Stand in line, wait days for money to arrive. So we thought about, wait, it's the 21st century, emails go instantaneously, so there must be something we can do to have the same experience with money. So we realized that in order to do it, we really have to go and build out our own infrastructure. So in every country, we try to connect to the payment network. So we take money from a customer really quickly for a low cost. We're able to convert it and then pay out to the recipient. And if we're lucky, we can do it in real time in many countries we're in.
How long does it usually take for the money to arrive?
You can send money from Australia to UK. It'll be there in 15 seconds.
Wow.
That's something which, if you're a customer of a bank, that seems like the future has arrived.
Yeah, why are you able to do this, but the banks aren't?
It comes down to building out their own infrastructure. Banks use the SWIFT network, which is great. The money eventually gets there, but many people touch the money in between, and everyone takes a cut. Everyone keeps the money for a day. Using TransferWise, because we plug in directly in every country, we can do it really quickly, and the cost is typically 10 times less than using a bank.
You plug in directly. Explain a little bit about what that means.
So classically, if you want to access a US payment system, you probably have to go to a bank, maybe Wells Fargo, maybe some other bank, and you ask them, hey, can you help us access the UK payment network? That's the way it works in most places around the world. In UK now, TransferWise is plugged in directly in the Faster Payment system. Faster Payment is a payment network which allows money to move between banks and consumer accounts in real time in UK. And TransferWise now became the first non-bank to be directly a member of Faster Payments. And that means that whenever we need to make a payment in UK, we pay it out and boom, instantaneously it's on the recipient account. So we emulate this around the world, which means we either get money from consumers or we pay out instantaneously, and the rest is really for us to do the currency exchange. And that's the reason why we can do it in close to real time in many cases.
So your main competitors are Western Union and the banks of the world, but you only charge 1% or less in fees. How are you able to keep your fees so much lower than these others?
So it comes down to a few things. It comes down to being online only, so we don't have a branch network to support. It's only on your smartphone or computer, so that makes things easier for us. Second, we're really focused on being a technology company, so we're using technology to make things smoother and faster. And being started only 7 years ago means we're doing things in a very modern way compared to a bank which may have systems dating back tens and tens of years. And lastly, being straightly connected in the payment systems in every country means that we don't pay fees to any intermediaries. That kind of results in us being able to offer the lowest price, which really allows us to offer this service and run a profitable business.
And you've been profitable this is your second year now, is that right?
Exactly. We're profitable, we're really happy with that. That's enabled us to drop our prices. We've done more than a dozen price drops this year. We're really looking at how do we make sure consumers get the best deal.
So we meet entrepreneurs all the time who are talking about using cryptocurrency and using blockchains to affect these cross-border trades in a very cheap and fast way. Have you evaluated this technology? What do you think about it?
Yes, obviously we've heard this dream many times from different people. However, if you start digging into it, you realize that it may look great on paper, but in reality, to make use of it is really hard. Let's take Bitcoin as an example. If you want to buy Bitcoin, you have to sign up to an exchange. You have to go through an inconvenient KYC procedure. It'll probably take days, and they'll take a few % of your money. Then you send Bitcoin to a friend, they receive it. That happens pretty quickly. But they receive it, and guess what? They can't go and buy coffee with Bitcoin. So your friend receives some money, they have to find a local exchange, and it'll take them again days to get that Bitcoin converted into real money. And somebody will take a few %, and meanwhile, Bitcoin has plummeted 15%, so you get a cup of coffee only this tall. So not really convenient or fast. So we've looked at different blockchain technologies, but yet we haven't found anything which enables us to do what we do in a way which is cheaper or faster. Kind of going back to building up our own network is what we believe in, and that's kind of the only ways that we can really make things 10 times better than the existing what we see out there.
You mentioned Bitcoin, but Bitcoin has many failings that have been long recognized as a, as a medium of exchange. You cited some of those examples, but people have built upon that and have come up with other sorts of projects and different sorts of cryptocurrencies. There's Ripple, Stellar, you've got apps like Abra, and they're all trying to take on this cross-border payment market. Have you looked at those as well, and what did you find? Did they come up shortened somehow? We
have looked at these. I think today where we end up fundamentally is a question that there's not enough widespread adoption for any of these. If every bank in the world was connected to the Ripple network, that would be amazing. Yet how many banks are using Ripple today in production? It's a very short list. So we're in that sense we're big supporters of Ripple or anything else. We know the Ripple team, we know the other teams, and if any of these gets enough adoption, it actually materially helps us do things cheaper and faster. We'd love to, but so far we haven't found one.
You've recently expanded not just from consumer to consumer transactions, but also for business payments as well. And you raised a whole lot of money last year in venture capital to do this. Can you talk a little bit about how that expansion's going and what's happening next?
So when we launched TransferWise, it was really focused on consumers, people like myself and my co-founder Christo, moving money from one country to another. We also learned that similar to consumers, if you're a small to medium business, you get a very horrible service from your bank. And we realized, there are many small businesses who are either employing people overseas, who have suppliers overseas, customers overseas, and there's something we can do to help this. So we've been building out our small to medium business suite of services over the past couple of years, which is going really well. In the US today, it's about 1/3 of our usage is happening from small to medium businesses. We've also now launched our API. So now anyone can take whatever products they're building and integrate that with TransferWise. We're looking at people who are doing payroll services, people who have their own ERP systems. You can build TransferWise straight into it. And one last exciting piece of that is we're now working with a number of banks around the world to let these banks offer their customers a modern international payment solution. So if you're a new bank, like for example Monzo in the UK, they have more than 1 million customers, they integrate TransferWise. It took them about 3-4 weeks from start to end. And now everyone using Monzo in their mobile app can use TransferWise. We've also signed a deal with BPCE, second biggest bank in France, with more than 15 million customers, who is now working on integrating TransferWise to offer it to all of their customers.
TransferWise is based in the UK, is that right?
Correct.
How are you coping with Brexit?
To be honest, it's a little bit frustrating. We're now a few years into it, and we still don't quite know what this means. And the most important thing is it creates a whole lot of uncertainty around talent. The day Brexit, the day the vote happened, the next day, TransferWise people were coming and asking, hey, what's going to happen to us? Are we allowed to stay in the UK? Half the people in our London office are not British. And now when hiring people, it's the same thing. Like everybody's worried about kind of what's going to happen. And on a macro level, it's really a question of how do we ensure that the great talent that's been coming to London will still keep on coming to London. If you look at fast-growing companies like TransferWise, they thrive on talent. So if London is unable to attract this talent in the future, that will make London much less competitive in the global war for talent.
You were the CEO of TransferWise up until about a year ago. Can you tell us about that succession and why you changed roles, became the chairman instead?
So a year ago, we built the company to an amazing place. I had spent 7 years running a marathon at sprint speed. We had a great team in place. The company was profitable. That kind of, gave me a moment to think about what the next 7 years will bring. And I was lucky enough that I had a co-founder who was very excited to take over as CEO. And I continued as chairman, allowing me to also look at other things besides TransferWise. Yet I'm spending a big chunk of my time helping TransferWise because we're still at the very early stages of the company.
And back earlier in your career, you were the first employee at Skype, is that right?
Yes, I first got the bug for startups when I was hired by Niklas and Janos before they started Skype. So I was part of the team that built Skype, and seeing how you get a company from an idea on the back of a napkin to hundreds of millions of customers was really exciting. And in a way, TransferWise is a continuation of the Skype journey. We're trying to make the world a smaller place.
So looking at that career trajectory, are you looking at something after TransferWise? Are you, dabbling in other sorts of things as well?
We can talk about this in the future.
Okay. Well, we'd love to have you back to talk about that. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
I'm Robert Hackett.
And I'm Jen Viechner. For more Balancing the Ledger, come to fortune.com.
See you next time.